What's up, Summoners? Today we'll be covering some frequently asked questions and things you should know before going to the Riftbound Houston Regional, featuring special guest Brenton. His socials will be in the description below. Be sure to sub to him and check him out. Does the player going first in a 1v1 draw a card? Yes. Now, the rules doc, interestingly enough, does not say this outright, but we can extrapolate it. The rule set does include info on all game modes in which the first player doesn't draw, like 3-player free-for-all skirmish, 4-player free-for-all war, and 2v2 magma chamber, while the 1v1 duel and 1v1 match rule set does not. This 2v2 magma game mode is a wicked mode, by the way. You should read this shit. How do I get the 8th point to win? In the context of my answers today, the answers I'm providing are simply in reference to standard 1v1 matches. If you'd like a video on other formats, let me know. The final point does have some restrictions on scoring when a player tries to earn a point through a score and their current point total is 1 point from the victory score. The following occurs. If the player scored through a hold, that player scores the final point and they win. If the player has scored through a conquer and has scored the other battlefield through either method, conquer or hold, this turn, that player scores the final point and wins. You hold to 7 points, conquer the other battlefield, you win. If the player has scored through a conquer and has not scored every battlefield this turn, that player draws a card. You're at 7 points, controlling neither battlefield. You conquer one battlefield, you draw a card. You do not score the final point. If you were to then conquer the other battlefield, you would. Points earned from sources that are not from conquering or holding, cards like Yasuo Windrider or Arya Luring, are not beholden to these restrictions. When do units heal damage? This one is nice and easy. Damage is removed from units at 2 times. At the end of each player's turn, and at the end of any given combat after resolving the winner of said combat. Does hiding a card or playing a token unit count as playing a card for Legion effects? No, it does not. The hide discretionary action is not a subset of play. You are not playing a card when you hide it. Secondarily, Legion as a conditional keyword states if you have played another main deck card. Tokens are not main deck cards. On the topic of hidden, how does hidden work? Do I have to pay its normal cost? Hidden is a keyword that acts as a prerequisite to perform the discretionary action hide. It is present on spells, units, and gear. Cards with the hidden keyword allow you to pay 1 power to hide it face down at a battlefield you currently control and play it later at reaction speed for 0. It is important to note that hidden cards cannot be activated the same turn they are set face down, similar to trap cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Hidden cards can only target or affect units at the battlefield it was hidden at, unless the card states otherwise, like Tide Turner. Hidden cards are also discarded the moment its controller loses control of the battlefield they're hidden at. Cards with the hidden keyword can, of course, also just be played normally by paying their cost as you would any other card. Are we allowed to take notes during a match? Yes, which is very exciting to share. I have heard no one talking about this online. Not on YouTube, not on Discord, not on Twitter, nowhere. Players may take written notes during a match and refer to those notes during games in the same match. At the beginning of each match, each player's written note sheet must be empty and visible to all opponents and tournament officials. Players do not have to reveal their notes to their opponents. It is private knowledge, but judges may ask players to reveal and or explain their notes to them. Players may not refer to notes from outside the current game, including notes from previous matches during games. Between games, players may refer to notes they made prior to the match. They do not have to reveal those notes to opponents. Once again, this is private knowledge. This is an absolute game changer for people who struggled with sideboarding in other games, remembering their cards in their opponent's hand when playing cards that reveal it, etc. We can see a live example of this in top 128 of the Chinese Riftbound National Open, where the Misfortune player plays Sabotage and writes down the cards in the opponent's hand. If you are competing and not taking full advantage of this, you are going to be way behind the curve. All right, you know what, Brenton? You've asked me all these questions. I've got some questions to ask you. Like, how do sideboards work?
Sure. In Riftbound's constructed format, you're allowed a sideboard, also known as a side deck. A sideboard is a group of additional cards outside your main deck consisting of exactly 0 or 8 cards. The sideboard can only consist of legal main deck cards with the limits of copies on named cards applying in combination with the main deck, meaning you can't have 3 Falling Star in the side and 3 Falling Star in the main. You may use those cards to modify your deck after the first game of a match to improve certain matchups in games 2 and 3. Players can also change any cards in their main deck, including your chosen champion, but you cannot change your legend or battlefield at any point after deck registration. Your main deck must be exactly 40 cards after sideboarding, including your chosen champion, and your sideboard must be the exact number it was before you boarded, either 0 or 8. Players may not use sideboard cards in the first game of a match, and your deck must be returned to the state it was when you registered it before your next match. The amount of cards in your sideboard is public knowledge, and your opponent may ask that number. But what cards are in your sideboard and what you side in and out between games is private knowledge. If a match skips the first game due to a penalty or an intentional draw, neither player is allowed to sideboard. If a game restarts due to an in game effect or a corrective action by judges, the state of each player's deck and sideboard must remain the same in the restarted game. You cannot side in and out new cards. Can I conquer the same battlefield more than once a turn? A player may only score from either method, either a hold or a conquer, once per battlefield per turn. Technically, you could conquer a battlefield multiple times, but you could not score that battlefield multiple times. If my unit takes damage, is its might reduced by the same amount? No. A unit's might will always be whatever its current might is. Damage is just damage assigned to the unit, and once a unit has damage assigned to it equal or greater than its current might, then it dies. When do rune pools empty? Rune pools are emptied at the end of each player's draw phase and at the end of each player's turn. Any unspent energy and power are lost. Use it or lose it. This is particularly important when you have cards like seals that you can play for 0 energy, but does require you to recycle a power. You can exhaust a rune before playing the seal to float that energy to then use later on in the turn. But as I just mentioned, if you don't use it before the end of your turn, you will lose that energy and it will not carry over to your opponent's turn or your next turn.
Thanks, Gren. That's about it. Do you have any questions? Put them in the comments below. I would highly encourage anyone intending to attend tournaments to at least give the tournament rules doc a once over. If you're going to the Riftbound Regional in Houston, I'll be there competing. Would love to meet everyone. Be sure to click all the buttons. Okay, thanks. Bye.